Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the most exciting thing that could ever happen. Tandy is going into a cave, and we know that we've seen one little cub already. I'm trying to keep my voice down because she's a little bit grumpy at the moment, so I don't want to overstay my welcome and I don't want to make her uncomfortable. But inside there is a tiny little baby, and there it is. Do you see it? Look at it. There's one little cub that's come out. Now, I don't know how many there are, but there's one little cub. How cool is this? It is the absolute best thing to see. I'm so excited. I'm shaking. I'm so excited at the moment. And it is just as we kind of got here, we spotted her in amongst these thickets. She wasn't very happy at first. She came out and she met us with a bit of kind of hissing, and then she's now relaxed. But look how cute that is. So he's definitely confirmed that she's got the little cub. It seems like only one. I haven't seen any more than one, but how cute is that little one? What a way to start our day. I'm so excited. This is going to be the best thing ever over the next few weeks, to follow this leopard around and to see this little cub growing up. I'm absolutely flabbergasted at the fact that we've gotten to see her. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we found it that I've even forgotten to introduce myself and to say hello, and so I might as well do that now that everything's settled down. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Djuma. This is the most epic way to start a day. My name is Tristan. On camera today I've got Ferg, and Ferg is super excited about the fact that we've got a leopard cub just like I am, and it is the most amazing way to start the day. So if you are excited as we are and you want to let us know how excited you are, then you can use #SafariLive or YouTube chat as we sit and we enjoy the first glimpses of Tandy's new little cub. It is the most special feeling to be a part of this. You can see she's using Kruger's old den, which is, that to me is also phenomenal. The whole story behind this is just ridiculous, and you can see how difficult it is to see her. She's so well hidden inside there. There she is over there, and the little cub is in between, kind of around her legs and her face. The thing is that we need to keep quite quiet because she is not that happy that we're around. She kind of looks at us, and every now and then she'll just drop her head a little bit. So I'm going to try and just stay as quiet as possible. Rebecca, you wondering who found Tandy's den? Well, Herbie was the first one to have a look here with Scott yesterday on bushwalk, and just before I went on leave we had tracks going up and down here, and we thought that the den was somewhere in this particular section. Now it seems as though yesterday Herbie was looking, and he said to me he can see claw marks going up the bank that are from before the rain and after the rain that we've had, and so he thinks they're here. And so this morning my first port of call was just to come and check right here and just to make double sure to see if she wasn't moving around this area, and we found Tingana's tracks first coming out of this section, so I was a little bit kind of hesitant to think maybe that he was just following through, but it seems as though it is where it is. So Herbie and Scott, we owe a big debt to you, and I hope that you guys will get to see these little ones. How cute. Are you going to come and say hello to us? Hello, little one. That is just the cutest thing in the whole world. Now I know that there are many cute animals in the world, but for me, this is the best single sighting I could ever have. Seeing a little leopard cub. Hello? Are you saying hello to everyone? Listen. It's making a little squeaking sound. That is so cute. And like I say, for me to see a leopard cub is the singular best thing that I could ever ask for. I absolutely love spending time with leopards, and it's been a process of trying to find Thandi in her den, and we've really looked and looked and looked, and a lot of people have been wondering if she doesn't in fact have cubs because we haven't found them. But there we go, look at that. Hello, little one. Welcome to the world and Safari Live. It's being introduced to many people all at once, and to share this experience with all of you is one of the singular best moments I've had in my guiding career. I have been fortunate, and I've seen a lot of leopard cubs in my time and spent a lot of time at dens. This is, though, probably the best, just because it's not just me, it's all of you together with us. It is the most incredible thing. And Tandy, thank you, my girl. You're being an absolute trooper. She's not getting too upset with us, which is fantastic. She's relaxed now. You can see the cub is kind of drifting around, and you can get an appreciation of just how small this little cub is. If you look at the size of Tandy's front paw there, that little cub, oh, look at that. It's just rubbing up on her face. How cute is this? And look at the paw on top of Tandy's paw. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Look how cute that is. It's on its back now. It's going to get a little tummy washing. So it's going to have a really kind of good time with Mom, and this is going to be bonding. The fact that she's starting to groom now and is not really focusing on us too much is great news. But we're going to sit here and take a short little break, and while we do that, hopefully the little cub will come out for a better glimpse just now. Right, so that was our ad break practice for our TV shows. For those that are not familiar with why I was all of a sudden saying we're going to take a little break and why you didn't go away from me, but at the end of the day we have to practice these things, and we were supposed to do a rehearsal today, but we had a few little minor technical glitches, and so we'll do our rehearsal from tomorrow. But we will go back to little Tandy and her cub, because it is just the most wonderful thing. At the moment I'm trying not to move too much. I'm also trying to keep my voice as low as possible, because ultimately I don't want Tandy to feel threatened by our presence and to get a little bit upset with us. Look at the little cub's eyes just down a bit, Ferg. There we go. There it is. Look at that. How cute. That is the cutest thing in the world. I'm so excited. Right, well, we're going to sit here a little bit longer. Now that Tandy's grooming and everything is quite alright, we're not going to worry too much. We're going to sit a little longer and hopefully get one more glimpse before we then leave the area and make sure that no one else comes here for a while, because obviously it's still a little cub at the moment. And so while we do that, let's go across to Noelle and see what she's up to this morning. I believe she's trying to look for tracks of the larger cats that occur on Djuma.
Welcome back from our ad break. Don't forget we are live, and how exciting is this? It's a little Schmiegel's blind snake. So very cool. We only really see them in summer. He was busy crossing the road. Now he's heading over our western boundary, doing the best that he can to get out and about without too much detriment to himself. Usually you only see them above ground, sort of when it's wet or nice and cool like now. Oh, and we just managed to get that sighting. How absolutely fantastic. Good morning everyone. I am Noelle, and on camera I have Senzo. Yay! Three Fingers is back. All right, don't forget we are live, we are interactive, hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, or you follow us on the YouTube chat. So Tristan, I am green with envy, so jealous that you have Tandy and those cute little cubs. I can't wait to see them myself. We have been looking for the Nkuhumas, we have picked up no tracks, and the guys are saying that they think they're possibly still inside of Biffle's Hook, which would mean that was why we have no tracks. But never fear, excuse me. Never fear, we will still find something amazing to watch. So we're going to check most of our western boundary just now. We've done most of the northern boundary. We heard what we thought is an elephant just in the background over here. So I'm going to pull forward just now and see if we can see anything. It's going to be slightly bumpy. Don't forget, everybody, we are rehearsing for our big TV show, 14th of December. It's going to air live at 10 o'clock Eastern time in the States. So we're going to be practicing our ad breaks, as you just saw now with Tristan and I. But while I'm searching, and while you're busy diarizing your programming of our show, let's head on over to Scott, who would like to say good morning.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the bushwalk this morning. We need to start off by giving this man Herbie a big round of applause, because if it wasn't for his wizardry, we wouldn't be so lucky to have seen those tiny little leopard cubs. And how exciting is that? So well done, Herb. You're an absolute legend, and hopefully you'll be able to find us another leopard this morning. So those are our plans. We're moving around looking for any fresh signs or fresh tracks. Our initial plans were actually to head into that area where Thandi has her den, and we're going to do a circle around the kind of perimeter of the safe area where we wouldn't be too close to the den sites, in the hope that we'd maybe find some of her tracks either going in or leaving. So we are going to have a lot of opportunities to continue tracking her, even though we do know where her den site is. Now, for those of you who haven't met me, my name's Scott, and I'm teamed up with Dave on camera. It's been 7 months since he wielded the camera on a bushwalk, so we're both very excited to be back out and in the Sabi sands. It's quite a windy morning, which can create slightly dangerous scenarios, but it can also make things quite safe. So as you can see, the ash is getting blown away very quickly blowing to the north, so we're walking into it, which means any animals that are ahead of us are not going to be able to smell us. So that's useful to know, and if we do see anything, then we just need to make sure they don't hear us or see us, and we'll be able to view them without them knowing we're around. So the wind is in our favor, very different conditions to yesterday. It's not only helping us with possibly approaching animals, but also keeping cool, which is useful. Let's see what Herbie's found us here. Okay. Jeez, look at this. This is really interesting. I'm not sure exactly what kind of a worm or caterpillar it is. It doesn't have any hairs on it. And what I'm going to try and do is just turn the branches ever so slightly to give Dave a better opportunity to film it side on. Now, this is quite interesting. You can see at the back here, it's got its 3 pairs of real legs, and up in the front, they've got 4 legs, which are or pro legs, which are kind of like fake limbs. Actually, I've got it the wrong way around. These are the pro legs at the back, so these are fake limbs, and the proper. Now, I haven't seen one of these before, so I'm not too sure what it is and what it is going to metamorphosize into. Some kind of a moth or butterfly. So if any of you have got any insights into what this may turn into, please let us know. It would be wonderful to work that out. Very good. Well, this is a good sign. Oh, let's have a look now. I have disturbed it ever so slightly, but we will be able to see it and its front legs. Oh, sorry, buddy. There we go. It seems quite lethargic this morning, so we're just going to bend it down. Oh, maybe we're just going to leave it be and send you guys across to Noelle.
Welcome, welcome, welcome back. Alright, so we are now trying to investigate the sound that we heard that we think is some elephants. We heard some branches breaking. So we're just going away from our western boundary for a little bit and coming back into sort of Impala Plains area. This is the area where we had that beautiful sighting of the Birmingham males, all 4 of them the other day, and also not far from where we had that magic sighting with the wild dogs and Mvula. So yesterday morning we had some nice tracks of a male leopard, which I was assuming was Mvula. Cursed, I'm so sorry. I broke up a little bit there. I heard something. Cursed, I'm very sorry. I'm getting that Beetle is asking a question, but I'm not quite hearing. Oh, is this actually live? Okay, sorry, Cursed, but I think you're saying, is this actually live? We are, we're live, we're live. We're always live, unless we tell you otherwise. Live in the morning, and I know it's a little bit confusing with our pretend ad breaks because of what we're practicing for the show, but don't worry, we are live, we are live. And that is probably one of the best things you can hear for us inside of our ears. You're live, you're live. Sorry, I've just got some tracks here, and I'm trying to decide what I think they are. Let me just have a look-see. I'm just going to unplug for a moment and just walk up the road, and I'll chat with you guys as I'm doing that. This is interesting soil, especially when you have the cloud cover that we have now, because it doesn't register, and by register I mean show the track as well as I would like. If there's a little bit of sun, there's a little bit of a shadow that's placed over the track. I have a feeling what I was seeing was a leopard track, but I'm not 100% on that. Definitely have some hyenas. I think for our camera it's actually because the light is the way that it is, and because I've gone up a little bit far, we may or may not be able to see them. What I will do, there's definitely some lion tracks here, but I don't think they're super fresh. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up a little bit farther, and then we'll check out those lion tracks. There's lion tracks on this side, and then this side, there look to be some leopard tracks. And I think I ran them over by accident. Let's just go and have a look up a little bit closer. Let's just see very, very, very quickly if I can show you any of these beautiful tracks. Sens, can you see? Is this one okay? So here we have our lion track. It's going this way. So you can see the 3 lobes at the back and then the 4 toes there in front. This is the back left foot. And then this one is our hyena track, right? So it was lions and then hyena on top. This is a male lion. So while I'm busy investigating these tracks, let's head over to Scott, who's got a very tall mammal that he would like to show you.
We do indeed. We have this lady giraffe staring down at us, and she's probably quite intently focused on us because we took her by surprise. And again, it's these windy conditions that we're experiencing this morning that would have not only muffled our approach, but also our scent was being blown away from her. She had her head deep into the bushes, snacking away, and it was only after we had been here for about a minute did she poke her head up and actually realize that we're here. So we're probably only about 35, 40 meters away from her. And who knows, maybe there are a few other members of a herd in the general area. But one of the great things about giraffe is that even though we're quite close, they feel quite safe, not only because of their size, but because of the vantage point staring down on us, being able to survey the area and make sure that there's not any other of us humans lurking about. Now, like I said, this is a female giraffe. I know that because once we take a closer look at her, you'll notice that the small little horn-like structures on her head called ossicones are quite thin, whereas a male will have much larger ossicones than that. Oh, she's got an oxpecker that obviously she wasn't too happy about looking for breakfast around her eyeballs, but they do an incredibly useful job for a lot of the herbivores, cleaning off ectoparasites like ticks. It's just that once the oxpeckers start delving into the ears and close to the eyes, naturally their hosts get a little bit bothered. I guess, just like us, we wouldn't like any small creatures crawling in and around our eyes or ears. It must be, I guess, the equivalent of a fly buzzing around. Now we could hear some baboons alarm calling, which is some good prospects, so we're going to slowly make our way into that general area to try and get an idea what exactly they are shouting at. And the baboon's alarm call sounds kind of quite similar to a dog barking, bow, bow. And Herbie's sharp ears have helped us detect those calls, so we're going to continue on, leave this lady be. Very good. Well, as we continue on our search to try and find some tracks, it seems like you are going to be doing the same thing with Noelle.
Alright, so from tracking on foot with Scott to tracking in a vehicle with Senzo and I, look, these lion tracks are not shouting at me like, oh my goodness, a lion just walked here, but they're okay. They're decent. So we're going to try our best. Could also have to just do with a little bit of the soil, but I think they're probably from yesterday. I just confirmed with one of the other guides that there were only 2 Birmingham males seen last night up in Biffleshoek, so we are going to make the assumption that this is 1 Birmingham male and do our best to find it. Ooh, Jonathan, good question. You're asking why are the Birmingham males called the Birmingham males? Jonathan, I actually don't know. I should actually know that, but I don't. Tristan would be a good person to ask that, so when Tristan's gremlins leave him, maybe we can throw that question at him, unless there's someone watching who can remember. Look, my best educated guess that I could give for why is maybe there's a small piece of property somewhere near us called Birmingham and they were born there. That would be my best guess. But we will have to wait and see. Yeah, so those other tracks I was talking about earlier that I thought I'd run over, there's 2 male lions here. One's walking on, I don't know if you guys can see down the road, you can see where the tire tracks go. One's walking on the left and one's walking on the right and heading straight down. So to me, this says that 2 of the Birminghams are with the Incahumas up in Biffleshoek. and that the other two have meandered off, maybe looking for the sticks. I haven't heard an update in the sticks in a while since they were over on Cheetah Plains, so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe they were Little Gowrie or possibly... There they go, sorry. I'm doing too many things at once. I think let's head this way and then loop around, or possibly Senzo's got the other side here. Well done, Senz. Senz is my excellent sidekick today. Also helps me track quite a bit. And it's good because he can see the left-hand side of the car, whereas I can see the right-hand, and it is very, very, very helpful. Okay, so yes, so either in Little Gowrie or maybe they went over to Eretuza, who knows. Now, I would also be interested to know where Shadow and her youngster are. The last time I saw Shadow was a couple mornings ago, and she went back into Little Gowrie. So I think she's been camping out that side. I know Kachava was seen there, sort of Torchwood side, coming over into our traverse into Djuma. And then Hassana has not been seen in a little while as far as I know, so that would be interesting. So Sammy Jane, you're saying that the Birminghams are called the Birminghams because they were born on Birmingham property. So my assumption was correct. Thank you very much, Sammy Jane. That makes a lot of sense. We tend to do things like that often, naming coalitions or prides where they were born. It also just helps us a little bit keep track of everybody and any research that's done as well. Well, with this overcast weather, I am going to hope that our predator movement is quite good. Our elephant that we heard did not want to come out from his hiding place wherever he was, and I actually think I've possibly picked up on some wild dog tracks. Alright, while I'm busy investigating all these little bits and bobs we're finding on the road, let's head back towards Tristan, who has a bird.
I do indeed. So we've left Thandi's den. How epic was that to start the day? Unfortunately, there was a bird that started doing a mating display, and we're busy looking at a Wahlberg's eagle here, and the bird making a lot of noise trying to mate with another one drew her attention, and she didn't like it at all, and she started growling. So we decided that's it, we're going to get out of there and we're going to leave her to herself. But at least we know where the den is. At least it's confirmed that she's got cubs, and now we can keep that kind of quiet.
Let's do this. Ooh, sorry about those little gremlins. It's because Tristan got that amazing sighting of Tandy with the cub. So the gremlins are going, you're fine, you're sorted. Let's head on over to us. Ooh, we've got some Ellie tracks. We've got lots of tracking going on. So one of the reasons why I'm not stopping as much to show you the tracks as much is I would like to use this opportunity when it's nice and cool right now to see if we can pick up on movements, because the tracks that I am finding, yeah, is that grammar correct? Sorry, are just old enough that I'm a little bit too far behind any of the species that I'm hoping to find. And so before they cross, look, they might have already crossed out, but before they cross out, I would like to gain some ground on them. So there's a couple different ways you can do tracking, and I'm sure when we head back to Scott, when he's got his tracks, he might be able to help out a little bit more with this. But you can do track by track walking, where you're just looking, or you're seeing the line of that track and you're trailing it properly, or like for us now, we've got tracks, they're heading a certain direction, so we're leapfrogging ahead to try and get as close as we can. So if our tracks were fresh, we would be right on them, following. But because they're not, we're guesstimating where we think those animals might be. And I'm really focusing on those two Birmingham males at the moment because I love them and I would like to see them. All right, let's head on back to Scott and see how his tracking exercise is going.
Tracking is tricky today, and a big reason for that is because of the cloudy weather. So it's always a bit of give or take. We've got nice cool weather, which makes it easy for us to move around in. But when it's overcast, it becomes very difficult to actually see the tracks on the ground. It's not to say you can't see them, it just means you have to move a little bit more slowly and just really scrutinize every little sandy patch see 4 tracks. If we look around here, you'll see some areas you're not going to see tracks of the animal. But if we go up ahead here, you'll see a patch like this. So if you come through and take a close look, you can often get lucky and find some tracks. Now I can see very vaguely what looks to be possibly a hyena track here. Small scrub hair droppings, which are useful little tools if you didn't have an ash bag like this to try and show you which way the wind's blowing. But you can see now it's blowing slowly that way. What you can do is you can slowly crumple up this very well digested little scrub hair poop, and that fine goes away. And sorry about the pixelation. The reason for that is for Dave to get the angle of the shot. He's been bending forward, and when he bends forward, the antenna goes down and the signal gets lost. So now that he's straightened up, it should be a little bit better. And it's so much fun being back out with Dave on bushwalk. And we're going to try and get up onto some higher ground. It seems like it's not just Dave's positioning, but it's the area that we're in where we may have some low signal. So we're going to send you back along to Noelle.
Hello. Seems as if Murphy is not being kind to my male counterparts, but that's all right. You all can come along with Senzo and I and see what we can do about our cheeky little lions. Now, with these male lions, it's quite interesting. I was actually chatting with a colleague of mine, and we were talking about how they have the inkahumas and the sticks, but there's also the torchwood pride that I'd forgotten about. So there's that I know of, there's 3 prides that they cover, but it could also be some of the breakaways. I know Tristan and I were discussing the other day about lions. We used to see it with Chitwa, and I think it was the Insalas, and then the males that we would have seen would have been the Matimbas. So guys, don't forget we're practicing our ad breaks, and we're going to practice one now coming up. So are we ready for this? Our little pretend game of advert breaks. So as we're busy looking for these lions, you never know what could happen. We could come around the corner, they could be on a buffalo kill, it could be absolutely fantastic. So you got to stay with us. We're going to have a short little ad break. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so we're back with the internet viewers. Thank you everyone for playing along with our rehearsals like this. And for those of you that are just tuning in, that cheesy smile that I have to hold for too long is so that I'm staring into the camera and we're waiting and then I'm back live with you. So as you guys know, I like to smile, I like to laugh, but sometimes when I have to stare and smile, it turns into that little Stepford Wives, oh my goodness, I have too much Botox smile. So thanks for hanging on. Okay, but it's true. I mean, we could come around the corner and the Birminghams could be here. That's one of the reasons why I love what I do, is I can guess and I can guesstimate and I can be pretty accurate with what I'm doing, but at the same point, Murphy does like to throw a little bit of this and a little bit of that into our way. Now, whether that's a few gremlins here and there, or whether that's tracking forever until we finally find something, or I still can't get over that wild dog leopard sighting we had the other day. I mean, I had no idea Mvula was there. I hadn't picked up any tracks, and also we were also focused on what the wild dogs were doing. I actually would like to see wild dogs again, but we, on our predator list that we've had checking with each other, we still haven't seen cheetah on camera with me yet, so I'm hoping, crossing fingers, holding thumbs, they pop up. Benedictos, you're curious to know about how many bushfires we get a year. That's a super interesting question. So in my area that I was working in last fire season, we didn't have any fires. This fire season here, we haven't had any fires, but our moribund material, so the moribund material is all of the leaves and grass that sort of die and sort of compact up, and trees and things like that into this thick material, has been very low because we had a very bad drought. So thank goodness we didn't have any fires this year. Not everywhere is good to have fires. We have some areas of South Africa where fires are very necessary. So over in the Fynbos area, in the Western Cape of South Africa. But that being said, they really only need a big fire every 10 years. Unfortunately, that area, because of human encroachment, is getting accidental fires that lead to large fires almost every year, which means that the vegetation population cannot function as it normally would. So the reason why that area is so good, well, let me put it to you this way, the reason why that area needs fire has to do with the germination of several of the species there. They've got a special little... Sorry, I'm still looking for tracks and talking to you at the same time. They've got a special relationship with ant species who collect seeds, bring them underground. The ants only sort of eat the special coating on these seeds, and then once the fire comes, or sometimes even just the smoke, these seeds are either brought back above ground or they help to sprout the germination of the plant and carry on. So again, while I am busy searching for tracks and thinking about things like germination now, let's head back over to Scott, who I believe has something yellow. I don't know if I heard that one correctly.
Yes, we do have something yellow, and it is something that will germinate. What it is going to germinate into, I do not know the name of. And this one's even stumped Herbie. Obviously, it caught our attention, and it's quite a bizarre sight to see this clump of fruits growing out of this tiny little stalk. It seems to have been fed on by something. I wonder what animal chopped the head of the stalk off. You can see some new leaves trying to shoot out here. Now, I have never seen a fruit like this before, and I don't have a clue what it is. If any of you guys know, please let us know. Otherwise, we will be doing some homework when we get back. Herb seems to think he can remember eating them as a child, but he's not entirely sure. But there are some kind of light bulbs flashing in his head there. Cool. There's so many interesting little things that you discover out here, that being a great example of one. Herbie's been spending many, many years, 17 years working this general area, and he's never seen them before. Welcome back, everyone. We are still searching furiously for any sign of some more leopard. We haven't had any luck yet, but we're moving through an area where we are confident that we may find either Tingana, a big male, who would be responsible in all likelihood for that tiny little cub you saw with Tandy and Tristan earlier, or possibly another younger male called Hosanna, both of which move through this general area. And our plan is to go and check a few small little water holes where they may have gone for a drink, and where it's also a good spot for us to find tracks where we can then start following. Good stuff. We're going to race you off to Tristan and a beautiful bird.
It is a beautiful bird, possibly one of the most beautiful birds that we have out here. I know they're common, but always nice to see them, particularly when they're out on a very open, very straight stick, and that they kind of nothing around them. There's no vegetation, and you can really get a true sense of what they look like. Oh, good morning to you too. There we go. It's saying hello to all of us, and they, unfortunately, given how beautiful they are, do not have the most beautiful call. It's a bit squawky, isn't it? You'd find a lot of other birds that have far prettier calls that are a lot drabber looking. You would think a bird with lots of nice bright colors would be nice if it had a situation where it had a very beautiful call, but alas, I suppose you can't have everything in this world. Now, earlier I had a few gremlins that attacked us. We were looking at a Wahlberg's eagle, which was being dive bombed, but unfortunately the gremlins were there. And we also had a chagrin nest that Scott told me about, and it is the coolest nest in the world. Scott was telling me yesterday that it's quite close to the road and that it's very cool. I didn't realize how it was. It's literally about a meter off the road, and you can actually see the bird's eye almost full frame. It's absolutely amazing, and a beautifully little constructed nest. Unfortunately, though, the gremlins are there, so looking at it is a bit difficult, but hopefully one of us will be able to show you. I'm not sure if Scott got it on camera yesterday. I hope so, but it is very, very, very cool. I'm super happy that they found that. I don't know how somebody spotted it. It's quite well camouflaged. If you know that it's there, can you see it? It really is very, very cool. Right, now I'm not really sure what to do for this morning. We started on such a high, I'm not quite sure where to go or what to do. I'm a bit kind of sidetracked at the moment. I'm still trying to get over the fact that we just saw a tiny baby leopard, which is the best thing in the whole world, and I'm super happy about that. Like I say, Tandy was not happy about a bird that was there, and so we'd rather leave it alone, and like I say, close that whole area off and just let it relax now for the next few weeks. But it was an absolutely amazing thing to see. So I'm going to try and think about where I'm going to go from here. While I do that, I believe Scott, well, as bushwalks do tend to go, have delved into the realm of feces.
Yes, I am deeply enthralled by this pile of elephant poop, and there's some really, really interesting information that we can gather from this, and really exciting information. And the main thing is that we've spotted is that there's a few seeds. Now this over here is the seed of a marula fruit, and I haven't seen any marula fruit trees that are ripe yet, so who knows where this elephant got lucky and found one of the first marula trees to have ripening fruit that they can feed on. Look, to be fair, maybe the elephant got a little bit impatient and probably started feeding on the fruits before they were entirely ripe. It's one of the elephant's favorite food sources. And if we dig through here, where's my little poo probe? Here we go. Here's another marula seed. And the dung beetles have already come through here and worked what would have been probably about 4 or 5 boluses of dung. There we go. Here's two more little seeds. Oh, sorry. Lady Starfire, are you asking if my tracking skills are returning to me yet? Medium. It takes a while to get your eye in, and especially when you're next to a wizard like Herbie, he sometimes makes you feel a little bit useless, to be honest. But no, we're getting there slowly. Thanks for checking in. Now, let's have a look here. Oh, this is interesting. Marula fruits have got really tasty nuts within them. And this little cap that I've just opened here is usually very difficult to open up. It usually plugs this hole very tightly and makes it difficult to get the nut out. And the nut would live in this little hole here. If you see, if I turn the knife around, you can see that the blade goes in quite a way into that cavity, and it's a long, thin nut that's really, really tasty. It's kind of like a macadamia nut in texture. And let's see if the other side's got the same problem. Yeah, shame, this seed, I wonder what the problem was with it, but clearly there was an issue, because usually it's very difficult to get that little cap off that was stuck on my finger. But there's 2 little sleeves where you can harvest really tasty, oily nut from. They're not very big, and I guess that's why probably they haven't gone into commercial use for them. Let me see if I can find another one here. This looks a bit better. Hello, the Reven Lock. You're saying the smell doesn't get to me. Herbivore poo's usually not too smelly, thankfully. I mean, it smells a bit like poo. You can't hide from that fact, but it's definitely nothing like predator poop, and it's not as kind of dirty or dangerous to handle as predator poop would be. If this was a lion or a leopard poop, I certainly wouldn't be playing around with it like I am. What I'm trying to do is show you now that these caps on this seed are as they should be. They're fitting in very tightly, and we can't even actually see where they are exactly just yet. But I'm going to continue to scrape this seed until I can work out exactly where those caps are, and then with I think I've got the beginning of one. Yeah, let's see now. It's quite dangerous business, this getting the nuts out, especially considering that this is live. So if I slam the knife into my finger, it would be a little bit embarrassing. Mum, if you're watching, it's going to be okay. What has happened here? Now, you may have noticed that that cap fitted in far better than the previous one. So it was a lot more sealed, yet still within this little cavity where there's supposed to be a nut. I don't know, you can see a little bit of kind of the nutty flesh there, but it seems to have been eaten already. There's no meat. It does look gooey, and usually that's hard, nut-like substance. So I'm wondering if there hasn't been some kind of an insect that's managed to wiggle their way in there and feed on it, or if this tree just doesn't have good nuts within their seeds. So, like I said a bit earlier, the dung beetles have already come through here. I'm guessing this dung is from yesterday morning, and you can see a few small mounds of sand here. Another one over here, another one over here, and this is where certain dung beetles would have rolled up their dung, mined down a shaft, and this is all the sand that's come out of the mine shaft. And if you think of mining a shaft big enough for a golf ball to fit down, because that's generally how big the dung balls are on average, there's going to be a lot of soil that gets excavated before there's a big enough shaft for the dung beetle to bury their little bolus with an egg in it and a baby for the future generations. Very good. We're going to continue on and send you back to Noelle.
All right, so, oh, sorry, there's going to be another big bump as well. No luck with our Birmingham males. I do think that they've crossed out towards possibly Little Gowrie side, but can't substantiate that with anything other than sort of the direction in which those tracks were heading, the age of the tracks, and sort of what we know about where the rest of them are. But now, as I'm saying that, oh no, it's just some elephants. Sorry. Sometimes the bottom pad of an elephant track will have little marks that resemble that of a cat track. And we had tracks just recently of a huge herd of elephants that went into Little Gowrie. Missed them probably half hour to 45 minutes. Other than that, it's a quiet morning, but it sort of feels like a morning where it's quiet before the storm. I think everything is moving about because they can feel the weather changing. Mary, you're curious to know if we can possibly check the hyena den today. We can definitely try, Mary. I know we saw our little female hyena there yesterday morning, but we definitely can. Oh, and before I forget, Lady Starfire, I'm not sure if Tesla is sleeping, but if you can send through Tesla's Christmas Carol song that she rewrote for 12 days with the animals, I would love, love, love to see that so that I can sing it horribly for her on camera. I forgot to ask yesterday. I'm remembering to ask this morning. And then, yeah, we can just try, Mary, we can definitely try for whether or not we can find that hyena den. We've got our tracking unit here, wandering around, seeing if they can find anything for us. I think they're having the same kind of luck that we are having, although I did hear a little rumor about possibly some buffalo wandering about somewhere near here. So we will definitely try for that. Anyway, so basically what I'm saying about the animal movements earlier and sort of moving because of the moisture that they can feel coming. In rainy season like this, when we get a lot of rain coming through before the rain, you'll find that the animals are moving off, which then reminds me, oh my goodness, I'm so happy my memory is working today. We started answering a question about elephant rumbles and elephant vocalization. We didn't get to finish yesterday because Jamie had that amazing sighting of those warthogs being eaten by the I think it was the Angama pride that's up in the Mara there. So my friend Izzy is an elephant researcher, and I just sent her a question asking, please can you just precisely answer this for me so I can tell all of you. Basically what she's saying is that the research along how they produce those sounds within the body is not as good as it should be because there's very few physical things you can do with wild animals knowing. So basically it has to do with the larynx and the trunk, and sound being produced through the larynx and then out. And the lowest rumble that you can hear with elephants is between 7 and 9 hertz, which is male elephants, which is lower than we can hear with our ear, just as an interesting note. And because of these rumbles, when you have thunder and lightning, elephants will rock up to an area beforehand, and they believe it's because they can hear through their ability with those low hertz that the storms are coming, and that's why they start moving off. So while we are busy searching, you all can think about our elephant rumbles. Let's head on over to Tristan and see what he has to say.
Well, we are also searching, and I was also just thinking about elephants, funnily enough. I was thinking that it's amazing how yesterday afternoon we drove around this property and there was an elephant literally around every single corner. This morning we've come out and not one elephant to be had just yet. So I wonder where they are. Maybe they're in the thickets just enjoying a bit of nutrition and taking it easy out of the wind. There's a bit of a breeze blowing this morning. It's not heavy, which surprises me that the ellies would be out, or wouldn't be out, should I say, in weather like this. Sometimes when it gets really quite windy, you'll find ellies go into the thickets and they try and kind of just get out of the wind, but it's not blowing enough for that, I don't think. But maybe they'll be out later, I don't know. There's enough signs of them that they should be here somewhere. Right, now I'm not really sure where to go, actually. I didn't do it. You're wondering how far Tandy would allow the baby to wander. Not very far at all. She's going to, depending on what's going on. Obviously, if it's quiet around there and there's nothing around and there's no animals or no birds that are making too much noise, then you'll find that she'll probably have a situation where she'll let it wander down towards the riverbed and then back up to the hole itself. But the little cub is still quite nervous, so it comes out and it looks around and then it sees things and it goes running back to mom. It doesn't want to go too far at all, and she's going to be quite protective. She'll call it back when it starts getting a little bit too far, and we saw this morning that she is still very, very protective over that cub and quite sort of, you know, aggressive towards anything that's coming near it. Any bird that made a noise at her, she was hissing at and growling at, and so it's better that we just, you know, that she just kind of keeps that cub as safe as possible and keeps it as close as possible, because ultimately it's a bad world out there. There's lots of things like hyenas and male leopards and lions and snakes and all kinds of other things that can get towards that cub, and that's why she doesn't want it to drift too far. Oh, there we go. Hold on, there's a bird here. No, don't fly so far. It's going. It's a, looks like a Eurasian or an African golden oriole. I didn't see nicely. I think it's the Eurasian. Oh no, it's flown too fast. I just saw it disappearing through that thicket there, but it's definitely not the black-headed oriole. It had a nice clean yellow head and it has the bright yellow wings, which is the African golden oriole. So if we have a look here, if you've got the two of them here, you've got the Eurasian, which is this bottom one that I thought it might be at first, because we see them a little bit more than the African golden, and it's got this black kind of section to the wing. So when they're in flight, if you see the flight here, this is very dark black wing on the Eurasian, and the African golden has got this beautiful light coloration like this. It is definitely not the black-headed oriole, the one that we see more often, which is this one at the bottom. It didn't have this black head. It had a pure gold body and head and tail with this yellow on the wing. Now, I know a lot of you have been looking for this bird to try and get it on camera. That's why I was so excited, but unfortunately it just raced off over the road. Maybe if somebody replays it, you might catch it going over the road in front of us and then off to the side. But very cool to see. These guys are some of my favorite birds. I love the orioles. They're such brightly colored birds and they've got beautiful calls, and to see the African and the Eurasian is generally quite difficult. They tend to be quite shy birds. The black-headeds, because they're here all year round, we tend to find them, but the African and the Eurasian tend to be a little bit more shy, a little bit more difficult to find. So hopefully we'll get one on camera a little bit better than what just happened now, and that we'll actually be able to see it, because I know that was not really a glimpse for anyone other than myself and Ferg. Beautiful bird, hey Ferg.
Very, very.
There we go. Ferg saw it as well. He saw the gold. Have you got it? No, that's a vulture. But that's not as stunning, but and quite different. But you got me, Ferg. Oh, I thought you had seen it. So there's the vulture right on the top of the tree. It's probably the one from the nest itself, one of the adults, that's sitting close by. You can see its neck's tucked in, so it's just having a bit of a snooze. Now, from a bird that is rather large and one of our largest predatory birds to something that is also very, very big, but does not eat meat, but rather vegetation.
We found some of our elephants. Yay! I feel like this morning we've seen tracks for at least 3 or 4 different herds exiting our Djuma area. This herd has decided to stay inside of the Djuma area, which is fantastic. The way that they're moving is in the general direction of twin dams. Around the corner a little bit here and see if we can just get a better visual. I've only counted 3 or 4 at the moment, and I'm gonna see what we can do for getting you all a better sight. So hang with me, half a second, maybe 5 seconds, depending. I'm just going to angle in this way. This might be one of the smaller herds that we get where it's just sort of mum and a couple of different youngsters of very different ages, as opposed to some of the larger herds that we can also see where it's different mums and aunties and cousins and all of that. Just going to poke my nose in here and then we'll hopefully get a little bit of a view. So it's interesting, my friend Izzy was also saying that the older the elephants get, the lower the register for the rumble gets. and that's where the 7 to 9 hertz for the male comes through. So the little ones have quite a high registry, and then the older ones a lower registry. And then she was also saying the louder that they are depends on whether their mouth is open or not. Brenda, you're curious to know how fast can an elephant run in a burst. I've clocked them up to about 65 kilometers an hour, which I believe is about roughly 30 miles per hour. I have a friend that's done sort of 70, 75 kilometers an hour with a big bull, so 35, 38 miles per hour. So they can get, they're fast. The only thing humans can outrun in the bush is a tortoise. That's it. We can't outrun anything else. So they are just oh, you still got them. Sends, if I need to move, let me know. They're moving quickly and then stopping, and then moving quickly and stopping. I just want to reverse a little bit for Senzo so we don't have this horrible tree in the way. How's that, Sense? So I have a feeling, unlike our elephants where I said yesterday they're heading towards water, who then ended up having a nap under a big tree, I definitely think that these ones are headed towards water as best as I can tell. And notice that she is flapping her ears, but it's not as quick as our elephants yesterday. Yesterday morning was super warm already by this time. And for her, it's a little bit cool this morning, so she'll flap a bit and then hold them close, and then flap a bit and then hold them close. We've got this youngster coming up in front of us, Sens. I don't know if we want to switch over to this one. We have near that termite mound. Now, I've been sitting in sightings with elephants like this before, and then all of a sudden, elephants start getting a little bit agitated, and then out comes lions, or one time out came a huge pack of wild dogs. They can sense these things, especially if the wind is correct. Their sense of smell is very good. Their eyesight's really good. So because we haven't picked up on any tracks crossing from those Birminghams, you never know. I could have just missed them and they crossed over, or they could be close. So lion interaction with elephants would be super amazing for this morning. So let's stand by and let's see if we wait if anything amazing happens. Stay tuned for this advert break, but don't go anywhere. All right, we are back with our internet viewers. Thank you guys so much for staying with us. Thank you so much. While we're busy waiting to see what these elephants do, let's head on over to Scotty D, who I believe has elephants of his own.
We also do have a herd of elephants. We're not sure how many there are, so we're just approaching with caution at the moment. We've got perfect conditions, a good mixture of cover, and what's most important is perfect wind. As you can see, the wind is blowing that way. The elephants are just ahead of us. Now, ideally, they're going to be feeding kind of from left to right, and that will allow us to position ourselves in a safe spot and let them slowly feed past us. So let's keep creeping up. Try to get you guys some visuals of them. We were initially alerted to their presence by their audio, and as we get a little bit closer, it seems like there's quite a few of them. I can see branches getting flung around as elephants pick the leaves off them over quite a widespread area. Hello, Rebecca, you'd like to know how far will elephants move on an average day? Well, a lot will depend on the time of year and how much food there is around. If there's lots of food, they generally don't need to move too far. If there's not as much around, of course, they'll need to move further. But now, because it's quite a lush summer season, they're going to be moving, I would guess, maybe 5 kilometers a day on average, would be my guess. Oh, thanks, Herbie. So Herbie's just moved up ahead to get us into a nice safe spot, and if you just kind of creep up behind me here, you guys should be able to get some good views of at least one member of this herd. There we go. Wonderful. It's got absolutely no idea we're here, and their eyesight's not too bad, but we do have quite a lot of cover between, and that is exactly how we want it to be. It's a failure if these animals work out that we're here. It means we've got too close or allowed the weather conditions like the wind to give away our presence, and we don't want to do that. It's kind of like a game of hide and seek we're playing. We don't want them to know we're here. Now that I can see that it's feeding up in that direction, I think we're going to be able to creep along here. Again, I'll keep chesting the wind strongly in our favor. And ideally, with time spent here, we will be able to creep up as close as possible, a safe distance, again, without them knowing we're here. So something like a fallen down tree or a termite mound might provide us with the ideal cover to do that. And as we try and creep closer, we're going to be sending you back to Tristan.
Well, we are also trying to creep closer, although I've lost sight of it. It is not an animal, it is a bird that we are busy looking for, and it's a very special bird because it's a bird that I haven't seen this summer just yet. So it is a individual that we see coming down in the summer months, and it is one of our big birds of prey. And so what we are looking for at the moment is this guy over here, a lesser spotted eagle. So I know some of you might not have seen this, and it is a very easy bird to identify when it's in flight, because at the base of the tail here you see there's a big broad white line on the back, and so it came flying in this direction, and that broad white line was very visible. And so it's the first one that I've seen since the summer has kicked off, and nice to see them. They're a beautiful eagle, and one that we get every now and then in this particular section, and they normally arrive when the winged owlets start to come out, and so that's what we're busy trying to search for. It looked like it landed in one of these marulas, although I can't see it anymore. There's a couple marulas that are all on our right hand side, and we were on the road on the other side, and so we thought we'd come around because it flew in this direction, but alas, nothing that we can see. Anyway, it's okay, we'll carry on and try and see if we can find it maybe a little further. There's seems to be no sign of it at the moment, but while we look and try and head up towards the northern reaches of Djuma, let's go back across to Scotty, who's sneaking up on those big pachyderms.
Now, welcome back. Sorry you caught me there in a moment of concentration. I saw Herb's hand pick up and he pointed, but he was just pointing to a route that we need to go, not to an animal. This is going to work out really well. The elephants are moving in a northerly direction. The wind is blowing to the west, which means we're going to be able to get you guys into a great spot if all things continue to pan out as they are. Welcome back, everyone. We are in stealth mode here. There's a herd of elephants up ahead of us here, and we've got some wonderful, wonderful conditions. The wind is blowing in a westerly direction, so away from the elephants towards us, which means they're not going to pick up our smell, and they've got incredibly good senses of smell. Now it's quite thick, so it's going to be difficult for you to see them now, but we're going to have a great opportunity to creep up. I think I can see the perfect little termite mound there, which will give us a bit of elevation, which is good not only for viewing but also from a safety point of view. If we can get up onto a mound, if the elephants do by chance detect us, it's unlikely that they will continue to follow through with a full charge if we are elevated, because we will seem bigger and meaner than we actually are. So we're going to continue doing our best to creep up to these guys without them knowing we're here. And it sounds like Noelle has got some better views of a very tiny, cute elephant.
So amazing. Scott's got Ellie's on foot. We have Ellie's with lush green grass. So they're busy picking that up and eating it. Lots of nutrients involved with this green grass. And the more rain we get, a lot of
Well, unfortunately, Noelle's got a few gremlins. I think she's down roughly where I was this morning, and it seems the gremlins are in full form down that side of the world. So unfortunately, her elephant and herself are freezing and sticking and doing some sort of weird digital dance at this stage. Now we're on our newer road. Well, I suppose we can't really call it a new road anymore. We've had it for quite some time now. So we're on Mendoza Road and we're slowly going northwards. I want to go and check up towards the northern boundary, and the reason why is because I am hearing that there are wild dogs north of the boundary that are flirting with coming southwards and haven't quite been moving in the southerly direction just yet, but they are slowly but surely kind of going east-southeast, and so maybe we're going to get lucky and they're going to come onto the boundary. It seems like a lucky morning, and I know Fergus loves wild dogs, so if I have found my favorite animal, then I suppose we should find Fergus's favorite animal too. Now there is a bird that is running on the road that seems to be a bit perturbed by our presence, which has now gone around the corner. Of course it has. Birds are not being our friends today. They are all flying away at a rate of knots. Where's it gone now? Do you still see it, Berg? Anyway, there was a red-crested Koran that was moving around. There it goes, scuttling off away from us. And so while our red-crested Koran disappears, let's try and go back to Noelle and let's see if maybe her elephant has decided to be stable and not dance around digitally this time.
Seems as if our pixelation has fixed itself, so sorry about that. Seems as also it's my turn for the gremlins. So the grass that a lot of the animals eat this time of year is grass that needs to be eaten to grow more. It's an interesting concept to have. So it's not that they're going to overgraze these particular types of grass. They need it to keep growing, and Mother Nature is very deft at providing food for the creatures that she. This one here that I guesstimated and this is another one of the 6 like she is still lactating.
Now, we do have some better visuals of them now. I'm guessing there's about 10 or 15 elephants in this herd, but can't be certain in this thick bush. Now, sadly, they kind of made it to the termite mound faster than we could, and they're giant beasts that appear to be moving quite slowly, but because they've got such big long legs, they actually cover ground a little bit faster than you often expect them to. So we're going to keep moving, keep trying to loop ahead of them until the right situation presents itself to us to get a bit closer. It's always a bit tricky on bushwalk, but sometimes all the variables just fall into your favor and you can get very close to them. But now these elephants are chasing one another. Thankfully it's not in our direction. This is really interesting. They've got no idea we're here. That was just a intra-herd dispute. My heart is racing, because if they had decided to chase one another towards us, we would have been in a spot of bother. But what would have in all likelihood happened is that they would have got as big a fright as we would have got, and it would have been a bit of a standoff. But they just went charging off. Oh, let's move back here, Dave. There's another one. They're moving around here, so let's just try and go backwards and try and create as much distance as we can between us and them, because we're not too sure where these ones are going to go just yet. Now the trick is to not panic in situations like this, because you could end up running into some other danger if you're not careful. But in a situation like this, the best thing to do is simply create as much ground and space between you and the possible threats, which we appear to be doing quite well now. I can still see one elephant, but we need to move a little bit quicker. It seems like it's two bulls that are having a fight with one another. It seems like they're moving parallel to us now. So, for now, it seems like we're in a good position, and we may even be able to stop here and give you one more view of this one as it moves by. But it's moving too close towards us. Let's keep moving, Dave. Really interesting behavior. It's got no idea we're here, which is exactly how we want it to be. But it's moving too quickly and too erratically for us to know safely that it's worth actually sticking around here. You saw there, as we stopped to show it to you, he turned towards us, but he was just simply changing direction, which got all of our hearts racing again. How cool was that? Well done, Dave. Well done, Herb. And we're going to regroup now, try and work out how to safely get out of this area and send you off to Steph, who's also on Bushwalk.
Now, unfortunately, Scott is being attacked by gremlins, which is okay, because I think we are doing just fine. We don't seem to have too many gremlins at this stage. Now, I'm slowly making my way up northwards. Like I was saying, that there are reports of wild dogs to the north of us, but it seems as though the dogs are just milling around at the moment. They feasted on 2 baby impalas or 3 baby impalas already this morning, and so I don't know if they're going to make their way down towards us, but it's worth just going slowly along up towards that area and hoping for the best. What we might do is just pop in at the Hyena Den on the way, because I haven't been there and I don't even know how long, and I'm not really sure what's going on. The last time I heard about the Hyena Den, it was that there was the 2 little ones were looking very weak, and I'm not sure what's happened since then. Now, Mary, you were wondering if we could go to the Hyena Den, and so since you've asked, we will most definitely do so. Just for you, we will go to Hyena Den and go and have a little look around and just see what's happening. Although it's surmised that if dogs are around to the north, they might be up in the northern sections. The hyenas might be messing around in that area, following the dogs around as they so often do. Now, Vicky, you're wondering if we got out and saw the supermoon last night. Well, Fergus and I saw it on our way back from our drive. We had a beautiful view of the moon coming up over Quarantine, this big orange moon with this bull elephant that was striding underneath it. It was really very, very pretty, so we got to see it from there. But the rest of the crew, they all went out and had a go look at it after dinner, and went for a little night-time drive to see what they could find. I'm not sure how it went, though. I haven't heard any feedback if they saw anything. Were you there with them, Ferg? What did you see? Okay, so great fun. Didn't see much, but the moon was spectacular. That's the highlights from the drive. So it was an amazing moon last night. It really was very, very pretty. And like I say, that moonrise as we finished off our drive was just something spectacular. And I believe Ralph was with Tingana at the time when the moon was coming up, and so can't have too many better ways to see a supermoon than having a spotted leopard underneath it. So very, very cool to see. But unfortunately, we did not find our lesser spotted eagle again, and it seems as though it gave us the slip. They often are a little bit on the shyer side unless there's some of the owlets that are around. I often find they a little bit flighty. Oh, hello, ladies. And little baby impalas. The babies are getting quite big now. Some of the first few that were born are starting to look a lot more sort of grown up. Legs are not as wobbly and not as flimsy as what they were. And I love watching impala herds at this time of the year. And this is the reason why. If you see... Oh no, it's now gone, but there was a little baby that was running back and forth, and often if you find them early in the mornings, particularly in places like Quarantine, the little babies in conditions like this where we've got a bit of overcast weather and cooler weather, they run around and chase each other, and they have this massive game as this little creche unit in amongst the adults, and it's amazing to watch them. It's like any young animal, is that they generally have a lot of exuberance and vibrance to them, and they kind of run around and move all over the place and try and go, you know, from one side to another and chase each other around and really sort of make a display of it. There's still one or two though that seem as though, there goes the little one. It's just bounding. It's going to come across the road again, I think. Here we go. You are full of beans this morning, little one. So that's the second time I've seen it. Let's see, it might come out again. It looks as though it came round, but it's done it this twice now, where it's run over the road and then it's come back again. So we'll just sit and be patient. It's amazing to watch them. I always love these little impalas. Like I say, they bound around and it looks as though they're having the best time running back and forth. And it's almost like when you unleash kids at a park. Here we go. Here they come again, chasing one another. And you can see they already got the stotting motion where they kick their back legs. Yes, we're watching you. Such a cool time of the year. We've had the best last couple months with just seeing so many baby animals. We've had the baby plover, we've had weavers, we've had little Senegal lapwing nests, we've had obviously Tandy's cub, and these guys, the Styx cubs. So it's been amazing just to watch all these young animals coming out again and moving around. And how joyful is that? If you don't get a smile on your face from watching a little baby antelope like an impala run around like these two are, then I don't know, then there's something that you may need to go and check out, and may need to go and visit some sort of healthcare center, because if you can't find entertainment and happiness in a bunch of little impalas running around playing, then I don't really know too much. And you can see how fast they are as well. Even though they're bounding around through these thickets, they are incredibly quick already at their age. And all of this playing and running around like this is just helping to strengthen those legs up. It's getting all the muscles sorted out so that when they are chased by predators, which they will be over the next year, they're able to then evade them and get out of the way. Very cool to see. Thank you, impalas. That was very, very nice. I'm going to try and go forward a little bit just to see. Maybe they're playing and there's a bit more of a gap and we can actually see the little ones chase each other around a little bit more. I see there's the nursery unit is just to my left here, so we might actually get a better view from where we are now. So there we go. There's a few of them kind of stacked up on the left-hand side here, and they're all bouncing around all over the place. And you see how when one runs, they all run. G. Reed, you're wondering if impalas have a tendency to break legs. So there are, every now and then you do see an injury on an impala. Oh, that's a sweet little moment. Hello, little ones. Just being checked out and made sure that they are all right and everything is okay. But, I mean, there is incidents where there is a few breaks in legs. It's not a very common occurrence. They are fairly fleet-footed animals, and the amount of weight that gets distributed over those four legs means that it's not as bad as what we have on our legs. They're also quite watchful about where they run, but sometimes every now and then if they're being chased by a predator, they might stand, particularly young ones, might stand into a ditch or into a hole that's been dug by a porcupine or an aardvark or an elephant, and they end up then hyperflexing, and it causes a bit of a damage to the leg itself. But most of the time you find with these animals is that they end up with some sort of muscular damage more than bone damage, and then from there they limp around and eventually recovers if predators don't find them in time. But how sweet are those little faces? Here guys, I actually haven't spent too much time with little baby impalas over this season. They all started dropping and we saw one or two here and there, and then I went away for a week, and it's nice actually to come back to a whole bunch of them in creche units already, back in the herds and playing and just being their usual selves. And I love the fact that their legs look way too long for them already at this age. And this one is a fairly new one, the one that's closest to us. You can see it's still got quite thin, its legs are a little bit kind of bandy, and it doesn't seem to be able to move as easily as that one that's just walked past the frame. That's a much older individual and much more stable. Oh, we're going to have a little lie down. It's running around, hard work. Yes, and you can see how well they camouflage when they lie down in the grass like that. Ashton, you're wondering if male impalas stay in the herd when they grow to adults. Well, no, not necessarily. So what happens with impalas is quite an interesting situation. You'll have a herd structure at this time of the year that generally is quite sort of, it's quite mixed. So you're going to have males, females, the little ones, and everyone's going to be around each other, and there's not going to be too much competition. But as we start pushing into next year and we start to get to February, March, that's when the males start to become very, very competitive for females, and the rut starts to then take place in April. And when the rut's happening, then all the males generally are chased out when they reach about 3.5. That's normally when they start getting pushed away. 2.5 to 3.5 is when they're pushed out of the herds by the bigger males. When you have a situation with the younger males, so the year and a half, 2-year males, they generally are too small and don't really provide competition for the bigger males, and so they are actually often left within the herd. They're not really chased. It's only when they get to the size that they could potentially be a threat that they then get chased out, and they'll form bachelor groupings during that rutting period, and then they come back to the herd at this time of the year. So it changes throughout the year. It's quite a fluid movement between the impalas in this particular area and the males that move in and out. Right, well, we're probably going to leave our cute little impalas and leave them to themselves and to play and have a little frolic. And while we do that, I believe Noelle has found a bird that often is found feeding off what's left behind after birth of an impala.
It's true, Tristan. Battler eagles do like to eat the afterbirth, as do vultures. I had vultures a while back that were going right over my head, probably about 10 or 15 of them, and I thought possibly we were going to have an incident that I would need to call in, and it turned out to just be the afterbirth of giraffe. They come from all over, and battleur are very similar. Now, a couple of days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago now, we had these two with a third one busy with a nest site. We're not far from that area. We're not at the actual nest site itself, but not far from there. They're just sitting pretty for us on top of this dead tree. You can see those colorations beautifully. Now, sitting with birds of prey like this, you never know what's going to happen. It is a little bit cooler, but anything could come underneath. There could be a francolin, there could be a guinea fowl, there could be a mongoose that they feel like diving down and grabbing. You're never quite sure, although these two seem to be quite comfortable in the place where they are. So everybody, we are going to sit here and wait with bated breath to see if we can get any action out of these battleur eagles, whether they start flying or whether they dive down and catch anything. So don't go anywhere. We're going for a short break. Come back to us soon. All right, internet viewers, you're still with us. Fantastic. And thanks again, everybody, for working through these breaks, the practice that we're doing with them. Now, I have a feeling that the thermals still need to come up, so that's one of the reasons why they're just sitting there. Also, who knows, maybe they're just sitting pretty for us to show them to you. Joe, you're curious to know if they're eagles and vultures or vultures. So these are battleur eagles, who, what I was trying to describe earlier, but I think maybe I was speaking too quickly. They enjoy the afterbirth from things like baby Impala that are born, as do vultures. Vultures and battleurs will, ooh, check that, there we go. That actually reminds me, has anyone seen Happy Feet? That was our little Happy Feet moment. And Happy Feet, those are penguins, which we do get in South Africa, just not here. They're a little stretch of the wing. So battleurs will hunt for themselves, but they'll also eat off of dead kills, and they love the afterbirth of any birth. Vultures will not kill for themselves, but will eat off of dead kills and or dead animals rather, and also enjoy the afterbirth. But vultures in particular really love afterbirth of giraffe, and giraffe being a larger animal, they somehow spy this afterbirth very quickly and will come bolting out of nowhere. Now, Tristan wants to copy me today, as he does. I know he's just gotten back from leave, so copycat Tristan, let's head over to your bird of prey.
Well, it's not really copying you when it's a different bird altogether, because you have a battleur and I have a steppe eagle. So for those of you that don't know the difference between steppe and tawnies, they look very similar. Steppe eagle is slightly larger than the tawny. It's a much bigger bird. It weighs closer to about 4 kilograms as opposed to the tawnies that get to just over, I think they're about 3 in that particular area there. But the main reason why we know it's a steppe eagle is, as you see Ferg zooming in towards the head there and the beak, you'll notice that there is a yellow gape that is coming along and is about to sort of go past the eye, which is how you identify the difference between a steppe eagle and a tawny eagle. So I've got it here in my book to show all of you. So what I was talking about is this over here. You'll see that on the steppe eagle itself there is a gape that runs from the beak and it goes past towards the back end of the eye. If we look at something like a tawny eagle, which I'm just going to turn the page, hold on, sorry, if you look here at the tawny eagle at the bottom, you'll see that the gape only goes to the midway through the eye. Now the problem with both of these eagles is, and why it's tough to be able to sort of tell the difference between them, is that you see how many color variations that you've got on the tawny eagle, and it is the same with the steppe eagle. They come in lots of different color morphs, from dark all the way to these rufous colors. The steppe eagles don't really go this tawny coloration, but like I say, steppe eagles are a lot larger and a lot bigger and bulkier, and so nice to see. That's another one of our migratory birds that we've got in this area. Dynamite Grave, you want to know what a steppe eagle would eat. So Steppe eagles are interesting birds. They go a lot after termites, so hatching winged owlets. You'll find them eating those. You'll find them eating all kinds of insects. I've seen them feeding off impala lamb carcasses. I've seen them feeding off the afterbirth, much like what a batalier would. So they have quite a varied array of things. I've seen them on scrub hare kills. I've seen them feeding even off a tortoise once before. Not that I think that they killed a tortoise at all. I think it was probably a situation that they just found it and scavenged off it. Right, now we're going to come out of our ad break, so I'm just going to keep quiet for a few seconds before we do that, because I've got to prep myself to be able to do these things. Often it takes a bit of thinking to get back into the rhythm of doing ads. Welcome back to this live safari from South Africa. We are on our way towards the Hyena Den. Hopefully it's going to be active, but we'll be there in the next few minutes. I believe Noelle is still driving around and trying to find things, and well, Scotty D is on foot negotiating his way through some elephants. So now, I believe Scott, who's been playing around with rather large animals this morning, has now found himself another large individual, but not quite as dangerous.
Yes, we have got ourselves into a far safer situation here, and I'm hoping with a little bit of luck this female giraffe relaxes and continues with her plan to have a morning drink. We've just arrived at the Twin Dams waterhole, and she's clearly looking towards us, so she's just making sure that we aren't a threat to her. She's also been looking further to the west of us. I'm not too sure what's been getting her attention over there, but I'm sure in the next short while she will relax once she's done a full perimeter check. Of course, waterholes are dangerous areas for animals, especially an animal like a giraffe that's going to have to spread its legs. Come on, please do it. She's thinking about it. She's going to have to spread her front legs wide apart, kind of like doing the splits. You see, now she's looking back in that direction she was looking at before she even knew we were here. And I'm hoping that maybe she knows that there's a leopard, maybe Hosanna, relaxing nearby, because she keeps definitely looking back into that same spot. So we don't want to go and work out what exactly it is that she's looking at just yet. We'd rather just wait patiently here, let her have a drink, and then head off in the area of whatever it is she could be looking at. Now, an animal like a giraffe will look towards a leopard with intent, but with not too much concern. Of course, they're going to want to keep an eye on an animal like a leopard, but they're not going to feel hugely threatened by them. So they're wonderful animals to help us locate them. Now you can see she's turning her head a bit more, so possibly whatever it is that has been catching her attention is moving off, judging by the way she's looking further to the west. Now I'm sure that her thirst is going to override her concerns for us. Very shortly, it'll be wonderful if we get to see her drinking from here. We've got a fairly low angle. Here we go. No, not convinced. Another thing that's going to be playing on her mind is the windy weather conditions. Now, when it's windy, any little bush blowing or the rustle of leaves is going to get her attention. So who knows, maybe it's just a leopard or lion-like bush that's deceiving her off to the distance. Or maybe there are some real concerns. There were some elephants trumpeting not too far away from here now, which will possibly be adding to her nervousness. Okay, well, what I think we're going to do is we're going to give it a few more minutes here waiting patiently. It'll be wonderful if we get to show you guys what it looks like when a giraffe drinks. They've got a wonderful head flick at the end of their sip, which sends a stream of water up into the air. But while we wait here patiently, we're going to send you off to Tristan, who is steadily approaching the Hyena Den.
I have approached Scotty D. I am here, and we have one little one that is sitting just on the edge of the den. So it seems like just the one. It looks like one of the younger two. I'm not 100% sure which of the younger two it is. It's difficult now. They both kind of grew up, and I'm not sure if maybe one, like I say, is unfortunately gone, or if there is a situation where both. But it's not Ribbon. Ribbon is a bit bigger. I mean, not Ribbon. Sorry, Intima is a lot larger than that, and Intima is quite mobile these days. Now, I'm not sure what's lying next to its head there. It almost looks like a bit of a cushion in it. It does look like pillow fluff, you're right, Kirst. So I wonder if maybe hyenas have gotten into the lodge, or maybe even into the DRC, and have decided to take a pillow somewhere. If anybody's missing a pillow, we have found your pillow. It is probably in a million pieces inside the den and all around, and on the way from here to wherever it came from. But it does look like that. I might be wrong, of course, it might be something else, but it does look quite fluffy and pillow-like, or jacket stuffing or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, somebody has lost some sort of fluff somewhere along the line. Now, this little hyena looks as though it's very sleepy, which is often the case in overcast weather like this. They kind of just sit at the edge of the den and wait and hope for adults to come back with bits of food. At this age, it's on meat already and feeding quite a bit of it. There goes some Egyptian geese. What are you doing here? Egyptian geese over this part is quite a surprise, and you can see even the little hyena cub is wondering what is going on with Egyptian geese flying over and watching with a lot of intensity. Right, but while we watch our little hyena cub, I believe Noelle's found a slender mongoose, so let's quickly jump across to her.
We have an amazing sighting of a slender mongoose who's usually quick and out of screen before we can do much about it. He is busy picking out winged alights from this termite mound here. Ooh. And we've got some yellow-billed hornbills that are also busy with him as well. The slender mongoose has gone just behind the mound. I'm hoping he'll pop it back up. But the yellow-billed hornbills are still here. And because of this cooler weather, those winged alights, the flying termites, are coming out in great numbers. I think I can just see a little bit of there's our slender mongoose again, coming back, and he's also been digging. So the hornbills are waiting for the alights to come out, and the mongoose is actually digging them out himself. So we talk about winged alights a lot recently because of the sheer numbers that we're seeing and the amount of food that they give off to the various different animals. This is a really good example of a predator species and a sort of prey species, I guess, although I think a hornbill is a little bit big for a slender mongoose, sort of interacting on the mound and partaking in the same food source. So we had a really nice sighting a few days back where we had Wahlberg's eagles on the ground with guinea fowl doing the same sort of thing, enjoying the winged alights together. Now we've got some, I don't know if we can get them well. We had some European rollers that were being chased around by a fork-tailed drongo. The fork-tailed drongo has now gone to the left-hand side of the road there and is busy with one of the hornbills. Do you see where I'm looking, Sons? There he is. Ooh, and now they're chasing each other around. There they go. That fork-tailed drongo really has an attitude on him this morning. It's interesting, the fork-tailed drongo's not trying to eat the alights at the moment, but he is giving everyone else a very, very hard time. So now it looks as if most of our species have gone off. I'm just going to try and come forward a little bit and see if maybe we can get a nice shot of these winged alights. Ooh, there we go, there's starling. Geeweed, you're curious to know how many different species inhabit a termite mound at one time. So you'll have the termites themselves, and then you might have things like either an ant-eating chat or a South African shelduck, depending on what part of the country you're in, that might also be nesting there. You might also have something, if it's a large mound, you might have leopard cubs, or you might have jackal cubs, or pups rather, or you might have wild dog pups in there. You might have any sort of animal that sort of uses it as a burrow, like a warthog as well, or maybe hyenas. So you would have, let's say if you have hyenas in there, you would have the hyena cubs that are in there, plus you would have the termites that are still inside, plus you might also have any of those bird species. But quickly, let's go to Tristan. There's a hyena calling.
Well, our little one just started letting out a series of moaning calls, is how I would describe it. It's now stopped. I was hoping it would carry on, but it lets out these low little howls, and I wonder if it's just trying to contact call mom or trying to just get some sort of company at the den. It's quite strange because there's been nothing that's been happening around us that would have caused a little cub like this to make a lot of noise. I'm not sure what's going on with these guys at the moment. Like I say, every time I've seen them, they've looked skinny. They haven't looked good over the last little bit, and I wonder what's going on. I wonder if maybe something has happened to Gwen. I would love to know when the last time Gwen was seen, because it seems as though she hasn't been seen in a while, and the fact that this little one was calling the way it was almost like a plea for somebody to come. It's actually quite heartbreaking to hear it, so hopefully she doesn't do it again, or and that, well, it would be nice to hear the sound, but it's really difficult to know kind of why it's making that noise. Now, Snazzy, you're wondering if this little one is going to make it. I have no idea. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's quite young. It depends what's happened with Gwen. If Gwen is unfortunately, passed on, or if she's not around anymore, then the likelihood of this little one surviving is pretty low. It's quite a small hyena still. It's still reliant on protection from its mother, and so the chances of it surviving and getting the nutrients it needs to survive is going to be quite difficult. In saying that, though, there's been, animals' will to survive and animals' instinct to survive is an unbelievable thing, and sometimes you'll get crazy situations where an individual will be able to survive. The only problem is in Hyena Den, it's obviously reliant on its mother and reliant on its sort of mom to place it within the clan, which might make things a little bit difficult. Right, well, if shit calls again, we'll quickly come back to this area, but while we sit here, let's go back across to Steph, who's got one of the most beautiful antelope that we get here at Djuma.
Definitely have. This is a male Niala, and one of the most striking of all the antelope that occur here. He has got his head stuck into a bush at the moment, and so we can only really just see his profile. And let's see if he comes out. There he goes, walking away from us. Well, we got the second bushwalk pack up and running, and as you can see, we've got two bushwalks today. My name is Steph Winterboer, for those of you who missed it through my stutter of the first one, and we've got Genre on camera today. And what a momentous day getting these two bushwalks out, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of Scott and I over the next couple of days as we walk and try and figure out exactly how we're not going to be tripping over one another in this massive wilderness. Let's see if we can change the angle slightly on this Niala and see if we can get a picture of his face. Now, I'm going to try and not walk at him frontwards. Niala, like most antelope, are very sensitive to how you approach them. This particular chap seems to have absolutely no fear of humans, and I got a feeling it's because he lives around the area where our camp is, and of course has heard and seen people since he was probably a very young Niala bull. And he is absolutely not worried about us one single little bit. Diagnostic features of these Niala are those tawny coloured socks on the bottom of the feet, and then that beautiful frame or ruff of fur or hair that they've got circling their profile, which they can erect. And you can see as he walks off, you can see that line down his back. That's just to make him look more impressive from a side profile. Niala posture at one another, and what that means is two male Niala that are competing for a harem of females will stand side on with each other, and they will erect that beautiful frame of hair. You can see as he's moving off and going into the open, he's starting to erect that hair. It's just because we are close to him, and they can fluff out their tail and even curl their tail up over their back, and they get this very stiff-legged gait, and they show off basically to one another. Very rarely does it result in them having to joust with their horns, and in extreme cases when two males are evenly matched and there is a definite benefit to fighting, they will quite often wrestle with one another when they're evenly matched, and the two horns can then inflict some quite serious damage. The tops of their horns are sharp enough that if you had to take your fingers and push on top, you would puncture your thumb, or you'd puncture your hand. Those horn tips are needle sharp. Let's see if we can get close to there. There's a beautiful picture of him. Isn't that just lovely? All right, we're going to carry on with our day. You back off to Tristan and those hyena cubs.
Well, just the one hyena cub at this stage. I wonder where Ntima is these days. Ntima seems to have vacated. I know she's been seen on the dam cam a few times and around camp, so maybe she's on her own now and moving around with her mom, with Ribbon, and they're around and kind of doing their own thing and no longer bound to the den. But the one thing about this little one that surprises me is that if Gwen potentially was gone and she was no longer around, it means that this little thing has survived for close to 3 weeks by itself, which is way longer than it should be able to survive. I mean, it would be emaciated and completely unable to move. And so I don't know, maybe Gwen is just battling to bring food back, but that would surprise me because Gwen was looking as healthy as I've ever seen her the last time I saw her at this particular den. She was when the day that they dragged that buffalo skin here, and she was big and full and healthy, and she was almost dominating of everybody that was here. And it's a strange situation. I know obviously that nature is wild and we get a lot of things like lions and hyena conflict at times, and anything can happen, but it just seems quite strange. And the fact that this little one is alive means that I would assume that maybe Gwen is still around, and it's just we just keep missing her. Becca, you're wondering if hyenas would ever abandon their cubs or their offspring. Not that I've ever seen or ever heard of. I suppose it is possible, but not that I've ever seen. Unless the cub has got an injury that is completely kind of disabling, where it's got maybe a broken back or something like that, you might find that the adult eventually leaves it alone and goes away. But that mother instinct in most of the animals out here is so great that they'll spend time even with a disabled individual, or even sometimes a dead cub. So I would doubt that the hyenas would leave them. They tend to have such a tight-knit social bonding. They're very tight with their little ones. You see them coming here and they groom them and they look after them, and it would really surprise me if we had a situation where they left them alone and just abandoned them. I have seen lionesses do it from time to time, particularly with individuals that are weak. I've seen them kind of just leaving it and moving off and kind of just leaving it to itself. And there's a female down in the south, part of the Southern Pride, I've seen her do it a few times, where she just literally abandons her cubs even when they're still suckling and they have to fend for themselves. It's a strange thing. So I suppose it does happen in some predators. Whether it happens in hyenas, I'm not 100% sure. I personally have never seen a little one abandoned, other than if the mother has unfortunately passed away or has disappeared for some reason. So it's a tough one, and I don't really know. Like I say, I mean, it's possible that the only reason that this little one has survived is that it may have killed its offspring, and that's something that hyenas have done before, and siblicide is sometimes a part of what hyenas do, and you might find that it killed that little one and was able to feed off that, and that's the nutrients that's kept it going for a while. But I mean, I don't know. It's a difficult one. There's a few bones around here. Maybe it's chewing on that and gaining a bit of nutrients, but there really needs to be quite a steady flow of food for a cub to survive. And so I wouldn't expect it to have lasted this long without Gwen being around. So maybe she's just come at different times, or I don't know. It's a bit of a sort of mystery at the moment, and it seems as though this year has been full of bush mysteries with the mothers. Now, Chris, sorry, I missed your question. If you can just repeat that for me. So Robert, you're wondering if hyenas and mongoose, like the Slender mongoose we saw earlier, are related? No, they're not. So hyenas are in their own family called Hyena Den, and the mongooses are in their own family completely. So they're not related at all, even though they have a similar face, I would say. I mean, they've got quite a similar kind of muzzle area and roundish ears, but no, they are not related. Two very different animals and different ways that they go about their lives. You'll find with the mongoose, they don't have a situation where it's a female-based society or a female-dominated society. They'll have an alpha pair, much like the mongoose will, and so it's a bit different between them and the mongoose and the hyenas. So no, they're not related. But this little one looks as though it's absolutely sleepy. It hasn't called again since it last sort of made those noises. It's almost as though it's now closing its eyes and just going to have a bit of a rest. This is what they do. Even if Gwen was around and we are seeing her frequently, this is what I would expect out of hyenas at this time of the day. They generally are fairly relaxed animals, and they spend a lot of time just sleeping at the den side. It's only when the adults are around do the little ones tend to play and move around quite a bit, but generally this is how they sit and they relax and they spend their time just taking it very, very easy. I was hoping, though, with the call that she made, that might attract the attention of some other hyenas and that they start to move in. You never know what's around. Maybe Gwen does arrive back, so it's worth sitting and just waiting and having a little look around and seeing. You know, also never know if maybe some of the clan males arrive. We know that there's some of the clan males have been moving around this area, and the last time we were at the den, there was a number of males that were followed Gwen and Ribbon back to the den site and to this area. So with that call, it could attract the attention of others. It also could attract, the attention of other predators too. Things like wild dogs, leopards, lions. They'll be able to determine that that call is not from a fully grown adult, and they might then realize that these little guys are still moving around in this area, and maybe they're going to come and investigate what goes on. It's obviously a dangerous thing for any animal to come near a hyena den, because if adults are around, you might end up getting a hiding. But if a lion, let's say, had to find this cub out like this, it would most definitely attack it. So while it has called like that, it's worth just sitting around, being patient. We've had a morning of little ones and cubs and all kinds of small things, and so our morning's been quite incredible. And if we just sit with this, maybe we'll get a little bit of luck. But while we sit here, we're going to have a short break, and we'll see you all on the other side of it. There we go. So we're now back into our ad break, and our little one is still fast asleep. So we are probably going to leave this little one to itself. I don't think we're going to stay much longer. Like I say, even though it's called and it's kind of falling asleep, there's no other responses that I've heard, and not really too much else that's going on with this particular area. So I think I'm going to carry on, and while I do that, we can go back to Mr. Winterboer, who is out and about and, well, has followed Scott's lead in starting to mess around with Dung, except that this time he's got something that is creating a crafty ball out of it.
We definitely do. A marker and another testament to the fact that it is summertime. Here we have a dung beetle that is busy crafting its ball and has pretty much used up all the usable dung in this particular area. And you'll notice here, just orientating itself and then patting the dung ball down. And this ball will probably be used as a nuptial ball. In other words, it's a male dung beetle that will come and stand on top of his dung ball. He will then start to exude some pheromones, which female dung beetles will find irresistible. They'll come coursing in, using the wind as their approach path, coming in from downwind, and then he will present his dung ball, at which point they will eat a portion of it and then hopefully roll it away to go and bury it somewhere with an egg in it. It's very, very... you can see that they take a lot of pride in their dung ball. I mean, as weird as what that sounds. They take a bit of pride in their dung ball, and he will pat it as hard as what he can get it, incorporating as much dung as he can before rolling off. And I don't think he's too far away from rolling it off in a little bit. It's a type of dung beetle behavior called... Okay. And now, Randall, you'd like to know if dung beetles follow elephants. That's actually quite a good question there, Randall. I would say that not by design, is that they'll follow elephants because elephants deliver a massive quantity of dung. And everything downwind of that elephant, you'll find that he'll have these swarms of dung beetles following him, but not him. They're following his dung, which is delivering. And sometimes elephant dung and rhino dung and hippo dung can have hundreds, if not up to 1,000 different kinds of dung beetles on top of it, and will then get rid of that dung pile in a couple of minutes. You're looking at less than an hour for a full pile of dung from an elephant to be completely taken away to sand. And as you can see, this dung pile is definitely being utilized. There's some dung beetles that are underneath the dung here, and will have buried the dung similar to this here, taking it underneath the dung pile. This guy here is known as a telecoprid dung, and it's all in an effort to try and make sure that their brood ball, or the ball of dung that they go and lay an egg on, is as safe as what they can get it. Obviously, by rolling the dung away to a different place, they minimize the fact that it can be preyed upon by other dung beetles, for one, but also that their larvae don't get preyed upon by things like mongoose, which will quite happily dig out the balls of dung and eat the young dung beetle larvae whenever they can. He's doing a good job of packing it all in there, where they've got these flattened forelegs, and very powerful little dung beetles. You can see there, let's see if he starts to roll it. He's going to turn it around now just to get that circular shape. Can you imagine the ecstasy that this beetle is in at the moment? Completely alien to us, of course. An alien feeling. But you can just see that this guy's doing what he needs to do. Alright, let's send you off to Noelle. She's driving around over here and see what she's up to.
I'm driving around trying to find tracks of anything, or find anything indeed. We had some nice little activity around that termite mound earlier. It seems as if Tristan's got some nice activity with the hyena cub over at the den. Good to see she's still doing well. And Steph's dung beetle, as always, dung beetles are fantastic and amazing. So I'm just checking some of the sort of drainage lines, looking for leopard tracks, and just trying to find in general any sort of predatory species that might want to show itself on this beautifully cool morning. Slightly windy. So as we're doing that, please send questions. We do love them. Welcome back, TV viewers. We are live. Don't forget, Safari Live here in South Africa in Djuma Game Reserve. So send through questions, hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter. We love to hear from you. We love to interact. Ooh, let's go to Scott while I sort out my gremlins.
Well, sorry about those gremlins, but thankfully we've got ourselves into a good spot here with our friend Scuba Steve the hippo. And I only met him for the first time the day before. Actually, it was yesterday when I was following James around on bushwalk. And surprisingly, he's quite a shy individual. And he very often, once he's detected us, even in a vehicle, he'll go under the water and only stick his nostrils out. So he's actually being far more accommodating than normal at the moment. A little bit worked up, so we won't spend too much time here. They can be incredibly dangerous animals, and we wouldn't want to pressure him into a situation where he feels he needs to attack us and get rid of us. But at the moment he's just a little bit, I guess, surprised initially by our presence. So we will continue on and leave him in peace. He would have had the whole night out feeding, so we don't interrupt his snoozy midday sessions too much. Wonderful. So what we've been doing is we've been working our way through a network of different water holes in the hope that we'd be able to find some tracks of any exciting animals that would have come in for a drink, but so far we haven't had much luck. No lion or leopard tracks in this area, but we did find an incredibly interesting old set of newspaper. It was probably about news from about 3 or 4 days ago, according to our wizard Herbie, our master tracker. And what was really interesting is two things that we realized from 3 days ago on the Bush Telegraph, and that was that there's some buffalo that have moved into the area. And it's been many, many months since buffalo bulls have been seen in this area, since a drought that kind of finished last year, I would say. Since then, there haven't been many buffalo in this area. Most of them died out and were killed by lions. Yet, we came across some buffalo tracks which immediately put us on high alert because buffalo are potentially dangerous animals. And then, once we established that the buffalo tracks were in fact old, we then noticed that there were some lion tracks following them. And then the buffalo, you could see where their tracks started to run. And we could even actually work out at one point where we can pretty sure deduce that the lions were actually on top of the buffalo at some stages. There was scuffle marks and slide marks of tracks everywhere. Let's just sneak down here, make our way down below the dam wall so we don't scare Scuba Steve too much. But really interesting old tracks and signs that indicated to us that some lions nearly caught a buffalo a few days ago. Looked like there were about 2 or 3 buffaloes, so it's just useful for us to bear in mind that there are some buffalo moving through this area now. Very good. Well, we're going to keep checking all the little sandy patches around us to see if we can't find any footprints of lion and leopard, and while we continue to do that, we'll send you back to Tristan.
Well, we've just had a Battalier eagle fly past us, and there seems to be another one. There we go. There's the other Battalier. And they are busy moving around in this area and kind of circling around. So I'm just having a little look to see if they start coming down and maybe land somewhere. Battalier eagles are a good indicator of fresh carcasses. They are birds that, when they start coming down, is often something that's fairly recently dead or is dying that they are coming down to have a little look at. So it's always good just to watch them when you see them circling like this, just to see if they're going up or if they're going down. That's always a nice way to look for carcasses. And like I say, with vultures and battaliers, when they ride thermals and they're gaining altitude to look for prey, that's when they'll rise in the sort of air and they'll go upwards. When they're coming down, and that's when obviously they've spotted something and they're descending. So if you see descending, you know that there's something around, but if they're ascending, then it's more that they're just looking for food, which is exactly what this battalier is doing and is going off into the distance. Matty Bishop, you're wondering how we differentiate between an eagle and a vulture. Well, it's a very different shape that the two birds have. I find that our eagles tend to be much smaller. Vultures are a lot bigger than most of our eagles, except maybe Bard, the martial eagle with the hooded vultures. They're pretty similar in terms of their kind of general disposition and general shape, but and size, but you'll find that most of the vultures are much, much larger than our birds of prey. Also, vultures will have featherless heads, so they've got bare skin on their heads, whereas all our eagle species have feathers all over. Did I say hair? I meant feathers on their heads. And so you'll have a situation where all our vultures are bare headed, and so there's not too many feathers that they have on it. They also have their heads kind of tucked in, whereas the eagle species don't tuck their heads in at all. So if you see the vultures, even though they've got long necks, they'll tuck them in into the body, into that ruff of feathers around the neck, just to keep that blood nice and warm when they fly at the altitudes that they do. I also find that most of our vultures have a very kinked wing like this. Now, this is just something that I observed. It's not really a scientific thing, but when you see them, they kind of have this rounded and then this kink in it when they're soaring. The eagles tend to have much more sort of straighter wings when they're soaring around. You can see all the vultures have pretty much got that kink in it, like I was talking about. But if we go to the eagle species, which I'm just going to turn along a little bit, but you'll see most of our eagles tend to have this shape wing much straighter. You'll find that they've got, like I say, feathers on their heads, and then just the size differences between the two of them. So for me, that's how I always see it. It also it's quite quick to notice the difference between them when you see them in the sky. Their coloration of the vultures doesn't really match any of the colors of the eagle species that we get that occur here, so it's all a little bit different. But this is the battalier that we just saw now. We saw one adult that disappeared before we came to us, and then what we were seeing was actually one of the sub-adults or juveniles. Difficult to know for sure. It's not an immature, that's for sure, because the immature you start to see blotching and you start to see white. So this little picture over here, Ferg, if you can come down to the right for me. So that's an immature individual. You can see the white starting to coming through and blotching. That bird that we saw was like this. So it's a juvenile from this particular bird. It's last eggs that it laid would have been this individual, and it takes a long time. It takes about 4 years to get from this to that, and then a further 3 years from that to the black and white coloration that we see there. So it's a long process that they go through, and very, very difficult. What you will also notice with these birds is quite amazing. If you look at the tail on the battalier, it's very short. The legs actually extend past the tail in the adult, but if you come down to the immature and the juveniles, you see that the legs almost don't extend. So the tail actually gets shorter as they get older, which is quite strange. You would think it would be the opposite way around, but their tail kind of stops growing and everything else grows, and that's when the tail looks a lot shorter than it actually is in an adult. Nice though, nice bird to see. Very, very, very cool. Yes, you're wondering if these different eagles have different behavior to one another. Most certainly they do. Our eagles all have their own little niche that they're in and their own little way of doing things and finding food. If they were all the same, there would be far too much competition and we wouldn't have an ability for all of them to survive. And so things like the Battalier eagle is far more of a scavenger, so it doesn't hunt its own food. It'll go after dead animals and feed off those, whereas something like a martial eagle is a massive predator, and it will go after quite large prey items, from monitor lizards to baby impalas, like what we saw earlier, steenbok, duiker. Those things is what a martial will go after, whereas the smaller eagles, they're going to be going after birds and various other things like Wahlberg's eagles and lesser spotted eagles. They're going to go after birds and insects. Right, I thought I saw a scimitar bull here, but it looks like there's just a fork-tailed drongo. So while I carry on and figure out where I'm going to go next, let's go back to Scotty D and see what his plans are for the rest of the morning.
Well, to be honest, our plans are to start heading back towards camp for breakfast, but along the way we're definitely going to be stopping and showing you anything of interest that we stumble across. And we've just come across this elephant poop, and along with it a whole host of lots of different little insects. There's a whole bunch of flies that will be laying their eggs on this poop, and then their youngsters will slowly start breaking it down. And they're not the only insects on site. There's also just one dung beetle here for now that I can see. Looks like it's still doing some final touches, making its bolus of freshly harvested elephant poop perfectly round. I find it fascinating how such a small animal can create. And I'm wondering what it's next to roll this ball away, which it could well, and bury it elsewhere, or like some other dung beetles that have already been here, what I'll do is I'll gently just pull this out, and you can notice that there's a whole bunch of very loose soil here, and this would have already been dug up by dung beetles that have buried their bolus right below the dung itself. It looks like this guy's starting his adventure though. He's happy with the way he's renovated his bolus. And let me just try and help it a little bit so we can see, and just to clear up the pathway for it. There we go. Doing some road maintenance for you, buddy. But you're on your own now, and imagine how difficult it is for it to work its way backwards in reverse through such thick vegetation. They are such impressive animals, and you really could watch them for hours, and us as humans, I think, could learn a lot about the never give up theory with these guys. They certainly don't know when to stop. Shamsan, you would like to know how many eggs can a dung beetle lay, and per bolus of dung, I'm guessing it's usually one little grub or larvae that hatches. Will have the whole larder to feed onto itself. I'm guessing you may get some dung beetles though that will lay multiple eggs in one bolus. And then in terms of how many boluses they can roll up and lay eggs in every day, I'm guessing about 2 or 3. They're going to have a fairly short lifespan as an adult, and therefore have got a lot of work to do making sure that the next generations are well equipped to continue this incredibly useful cycle of reintroducing nutrients into the soil. Now, Dave, once you've stopped there, I'm going to ask you to remain exactly where you are, and I'm going to take the camera away from you, and I just want to show everyone how committed Dave is to the cause. There he is. And look where he's put his leg. Right into the elephant poo. Well done, Dave. All to get you guys the right angle. So we'll do whatever it takes to show you guys the best views. Hello, Diana. You'd like to know if dung beetles will ever use old stale poop? No, they are fussy when it comes to the poop they desire, and it has to be fresh. The main reason, well, a couple of reasons, but I think the main reason is when it's very soft and fresh, it becomes workable, so they can actually create and craft that bolus. Whereas once it's dried up, and in heat like we're experiencing at the moment, it could dry up in as quick as a day. So after that, it's going to become very, very difficult for the dung beetles to be able to craft the ball, and also obviously then deposit the egg in the middle of that ball. So you usually see them only coming on into fresh dung. And what's always remarkable to see, I find at this time of the year, is that it doesn't matter which pile of elephant dung you find, there are always going to be dung beetles on it. It's just a matter of how soon they detect it. But the word spreads, they obviously can pick up the scent and smell, and you very, very seldomly find whole entire boluses of elephant dung at this time of the year, because the dung beetles are highly, highly active in summer. Good. We're going to continue on and send you back to Noelle.
All right, we are still searching. There's a huge pack of wild dogs up in Biffleshoek, as well as the Nkuhumas, who apparently made a zebra kill up near one of the camps in Biffleshoek. So our search has now been concentrated more for leopards. I haven't seen Hassana in quite a while, so I'd be interested to know where he is. And Tristan had some male leopard tracks going south from where he saw Tandy today, but I didn't pick up on anything from him. So we've got a really beautiful roller and a beautiful starling. Why? Why must you fly away when I point out how beautiful you are? Our starling is still there.